Hey everyone, it is March the 31st on Read Through the Word, and it's great to be with you today. Today's reading may have puzzled some of you. It did me the first time I read, and it still is a head scratcher to me, even after all of these years of teaching through the Bible and getting to this place, knowing that God promised the Israelites victory, knowing that He said, I will go before you, I will drive out your enemies. We find the word failed in today's reading, beside almost every group of Israelites that was fighting. And so, I put that in our key verse from Judges 1, verse 19, but it's mentioned many times. I have it underlined every time. It said, failed to drive out, failed to drive out, failed to drive out, failed to drive out. And then there's a word that says, instead, the people of Asher moved among the Canaanites, which, do you remember? You remember God saying, don't associate yourself with them. Don't have anything to do with them. Drive them out, right? So that's problematic right there. But our lesson is not going to be on that today. I just want to point that out. There's not an instead with God. Follow His instructions, period, the end. And that's where I want us to land with finish the work that God has called us to do. Now, many of us, and I would venture to say most of us in class, doing class today, have not been in war. We've not been in a place of artillery, guns, fighting, even been surrounded by that, involved in it or surrounded by it. And I'm not naive enough to say, to think that some of us have not. Please hear me on that. I do understand that there are people that have served in the military that are living in places where this is an everyday occurrence. So I'm not naive to say, hey, this has never happened. I'm just saying the majority of us don't live in war-torn areas. So it's hard for us to imagine what this continual and perpetual state of war might have been like. And we might be more inclined to go, well, gosh, they were tired. And they were just ready just to have it end. And what I have discovered in my study is that they failed not because of military weakness, but because of spiritual weakness. It was an act really of disobedience. They did not follow through with what God told them to do. Now, we don't know specifically how they disobeyed. Just the tone and tenor that I get with the commentaries that I'm reading point to Judges 2, where God says, I brought you out of Egypt and led you into the land, Judges 2, 1 through 3. And I swore to your ancestors to give this land to you. I will never break my covenant with you, and you shall not have a covenant with the people of this land, but you shall break down their altars. Yet you have disobeyed me. Why have you done this? So the commentaries that I study tend to think that they relied on their spiritual, and they had military strength, but they relied more on their spiritual weakness and their lack of trust in God to carry them through to finish what He started in their life and for them. And this is what I know to be true, is that when it is hard, and we've got a couple more lessons in the next couple of days that we're going to touch on this even deeper. But when things are really hard, and I'm not talking about right now here, because their enemy was an actual enemy. Our enemy is not a physical person. Our enemy is Satan and his demons, his minions, whatever you want to call them. Our enemy is not with flesh and blood. So when we are warring and we are having one struggle after another and we are so tired, we just want to go, gosh, I'm just tired. I'm just going to do my best to just stay here among these Canaanites. Basically, that's what they're saying. instead of going on the spiritual strength that we have, we often rely on our physical weakness to determine the next step we're going to take in our relationship with God. And that is a very dangerous place to be. Because if we're relying on our physical strength rather than our spiritual strength, which even if it seems weak, our weakest strength is stronger than we think it is. If we are relying on on the feeling of our physical strength, we will never advance into the life that Jesus died to give us. We just won't. Jesus himself faced opposition after opposition after opposition after opposition in accomplishing God's work for him. He was born to die. That was his assignment. And he finished the job. Now, we're not all called to have a physical crucifixion or a physical death to the task that God sets before us. But we are challenged to finish the work that he sets out before us. And I've quit before too. I have just quit. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm done with this. I don't want to do it anymore. But I've had people come alongside me that said, wait a minute. This is, no. I'm not letting you quit. I'm not going to let you quit because you were meant to do this. Remember, and they bring back God's faithfulness. They bring back the calling. They bring back the beginning of the work that God began in my life. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You're right. I can't quit. I can't quit. We're going to be tempted to quit and not finish the work. So I don't want us to stand really in complete judgment of the Israelites because we don't know truthfully what they did. We just can base it on this Judges 20 when it says don't make a covenant with the people. And basically that's what they did. They brought in the Canaanites into slave labor. And they were entering into an agreement with them. And so that's where the commentaries are like, this is where that disobedience came in with them. Instead of, as we talked about the other day, following the instructions of the word to stay in that place of continued rest, don't even associate with those people. And they've not done that right off the bat. And, I can't throw them under the bus, girls, because, as I said, there have been times I've quit because I'm just too tired. I just don't want to do it anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore. And I've missed out on seeing God's greatness in the situation, and I've missed out on getting to that place where God wanted me to be. And I hope I don't see, when I get to heaven, I hope I don't see what I missed because I quit. Oh my goodness, I don't want to see that. And by the way, I have a really good friend, Nikki Koziars, who wrote a tremendous book, 5 Habits of a Woman Who Doesn't Quit. If this is where you are right now and you're in a place where you want to give up, I've included a link for this in this. In fact, let me go ahead and write that down, link to Nikki's book, because that just came to my mind and I need to go put that on my post. But make sure I put that on the post. But we belong. This is what 1 John 4:4 says, you belong to God, my dear children. You have already won a battle over those people. Over those people, he says, because the spirit who lives in you is greater than the spirit who lives in this world. So the victory is already ours. We're not promised that the road to victory is going to be paved with peace. In fact, Jesus himself said, in this world you're going to have trouble. We are promised victory as we walk to that place of victory. We can walk in the knowledge that we are victorious. We have to finish the work that God lays out before us. Victory is ours because greater is he who is in us than he who is in this world. We'll see you tomorrow and read through the Word.